Hi everyone, it's Jen from Mind's Eye. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get started. Thank God the camera's working right today. But we're gonna do the deep dive looking about the 800 Irish. I can't even get my words out. God damn it! But basically, that's my one swear for the day. Uh, Irish orphans. So psychic medium deep dive looking. And you have to say that it really is like something to be had, but you couldn't do, and you just couldn't do. So let's look at it this way: you couldn't like own, and you couldn't like see anything from like 1827 to around 1925, and I really like the energy is like pushing me forward like this with that heinous crime of what we just found, 800 skeletons in Ireland of all these juveniles. So when I looked at it and I say, now I kind of remember because I was someone who got stung by the affiliates and I recognized things. I actually remember my past lives really hard. But, when I go and I look at this and I say, when it propelled forward is really like 1948, around 1948. I can't even say it. So when I say it, I go, you can't even do. Can't even do. Now, with this being said, with this rune, there's something about power around that orphanage. So when I look at this and I say, Lagu, and you see this and you say Ingwa, it flows through the living like wind. When you see this and you say Nadis, at night I do see nighttime, or especially around 5 p.m. Around 5 p.m. When you see Barkana, like the women gave birth, and it was just like they gave their children up. So when I'm looking at the subway in New York and I go, there's something about this, and you see Algis, and you see defensive, like they're like frayed out when they gave over their children. And he said there really isn't much to actually see about this. When I look at this, I say it had something to do with like the chimneys. When you look at this and you see like the gift, like there's like a gift, like atonement, tone, like a tone of voice, atonement to the highest degree of regard, like they were given over their children. And you say there's something about wealth. I do see money. I do see money with that. How is this relative to today? How is this relative to today? They earned money giving up their children. You see this and you go, Othala, which is heritage and estate, had to do with heritage and estate. I'm seeing like a cat and I'm seeing the cobblestones in the street and I'm seeing like the horse-drawn wagons, which would be normal in Ireland. And you see this and you see joy. They were like paid off. Paid off. So paid off means they were working and they were in the off position. And when you see that and you go, harvest, it actually goes to show they still do it today in DCF and Child Protective Services. How many children are given up at a certain amount of time? It's kind of trending. When I see this and I go, Dega, Hera, like a hidden resource, hidden game, hidden knowing, hidden like anything. And feel free to chime in on the chat. I see canoe, torch. I see him lighting cigarettes. Usually when I was a visiting nurse, I would see it right around like a second or third visit. And you would see the women And when you would see the women, they would be done having their cigarette, even though they need home care services. They must be learning how to end their smoking. And when they end their smoking cessation, you go, all right, now we got to review like respiratory health and everything. It was almost that, for lack of a better term, they were learning about their children. It was like a type of connecting they couldn't even see. So when I see this, I see warrior, and you see strength, and you see this broken rune is a faded rune. It closes and seals off the deal. So where I actually see a lot of issues with OBGYN. And when you see it, and I go like a wheel of luck, like a wheel of fortune, like a lottery. I'm hearing a lottery. It's like hard, cold stone. When you see trolling, I'm seeing that actual stone that you might see, like if you're on a hike or a nature trail or anything of that matter. And when you do it, and you have to excuse me, I look at my expression. I'm actually scrying. I'm looking at remote viewing a little bit as energy out here, just around here where I'm out here in Connecticut. It really was like an old saying of Rolling Stone gathers no moss, of the wheel keeps turning of fate. And the wheel keeps turning of fate to be it known. And to be it known, you couldn't even sue anyone. So it was a luck of draw if your child came back to you. Now, when this happened and you see instinct, there's something about like flowing, like esophageal, like they all had like GERD and like colic, and then all of a sudden it would stop, it would freeze. And when you see this and you say, so whoa, which means like sun solid, they're always outside, like popping out of their skin. And when you see this and you go, righto, you go, there was something about that. Something about that. Going about righto means like true, like the ride of life. So let's look at the tarot cards. What else do we need to know about this? Okay. Just give me a second. And we'll go through it. So when we're looking at the current date and time and you're seeing this and you're seeing a trend, is this like you have to ask, is there something about all these children, all these bunkers or finding children? Let's look at the literary witches oracle. Let's see what this has to cut through. Because during that time, like 1827 to 1948, there's a lot of wartime out there. Civil War, and like a bunch of other wars, up almost into the Cold War, to the Korean War, with all these children. So there's something about like the dark. You see this card, and you see the wolf, which is like the great expanse of unknown. So there's something about actually Ledger down to like, why am I saying like Heath Ledger about a book? There's something about a book, like a book of Revelation. I don't see biblical, but when I see this, I see skull and I see transitions, reality. We're talking about the 800 orphans, their remains. You had to say, like, what did their skulls actually look like for someone? Because when you actually encounter it, like you're walking along on a hike and you're not expecting it, it actually is disturbing, even as someone who's used to it. So then you see the dark again, and then you see the wolf again, the great expanse, and then you see the tree like rooted and planted. Like and that's just like enough for an investigator. And then you see this healing. Why would actually finding 800 skeletons be healing for someone? There's something about money, complacency, and all of it to power, like a rise up and say, like, I see Hitler immediately. Immediately, I see Hitler. When I see creatures paw, there's something of like a fun in this, like a type of trolling. And when I see humanity, like they're low. The children were like low. Down to family, because I'm always eating bread and butter. I don't see milk, I see water. And then I see rebellion. Almost like the potato famine. And then when I see fantasy, to the knife, to like, when I look at this, I go, there's something about knife. Something about knowing. Knowing, Knowing. Knowing, last card. Wings. Wings. It's like a flow through. And when you see this, the energy of this deck right now is chicken, which is like ancient past lore, to where you see gold coins on the table, to cackling. You go, what was this? What was this? I don't know. Let's look at another one. All right, Akashic Tarot. A little bit more into history of this. What else do we need to know? Here it is. All right, so you see, like, saying community, something that the community did about these children. You see the King of Keys, and you see someone actually like clear masculine energy, and they come in and they do something. All right, you see the waterfall. When I look at this, I'm like, why are we going down to Tesla? This still bothers me when I see this card. Why are we going back to Tesla down to the T? Down to the T. I do see President Trump, but I do see something else about down to the T. It has to do with an IE, a clause, like a contract. And when you see this, you see a Akashic Library. It's actually public knowledge about this. Now, when I see this, and I see this in reverse, like a broken commitment, you can kind of read between the lines. When you see this and you see Akashic Field, you go, holy cow, in reverse. There's no Aurora Borealis, but it's star driven. It is star driven. When you see this and you see the lookout in reverse, it is a type of prudency to the eye, to that paper, the IE, to unfulfilled wishes that like you could not complete anything at all. When you see this and you see the King of Scrolls in reverse, it's not documented to the docket. But when you see this, a bird's nest, I actually have to say, look at the water. Look at the water when it comes to the 800 Irish orphans. It is a bit of Wellfleet out here in Massachusetts. But I do see Belfast. I do see Belfast. And I go, the summer, the winter, in reverse, and tapping. It literally goes to like those kids are actually worth a lot of money. A lot of money. You couldn't even believe it. And then we see this as up in the air, like, why was that up in the air? 800 over that time. Who was looking into that? Because they did have their own way of agencies. They really did. they had people look in from 1827 to 1948, as we were saying about this 800 Irish orphans. But like that's a lot of children to disappear and to find remains all at once. So when I see this card, Archangel Gabriel, it means like a flight of known to be known of one and one. So let's spell it. It was like WONONE. It was like a war cry in there, like where everyone's like just right here, right here, right here. Especially trending, like I was saying, as a visiting nurse, the way that the women were behaving with certain amount of visits after a visit to where they smoke a cigarette or a vape or anything. And then it's not there. And then you have to teach them all these things. How it came, or like coming back to it. It was like calling back to their children that they had placement on. So when I look at this and I see the initiation in the account of Saint Germain, there's no initiations in. No initiations in whatsoever. So when I look at this and I say the Oracle of Delphi in reverse, it's not prophesied. And it shouldn't be, especially with initiations. It usually is based on free will choice. Based on free will choice. When you see this and you see the loving elementals, we talk about here in the current day time about copper, about manganese, we talk about magnesium, we talk about calcium, and we talk about phosphorus. There's something about bones. So then you say, is this part of the Skulls and Bones Society? So let's take a look at that. So, because when I see this, I see the Queen of Roses. I see a 15-year-old girl right around Ireland, right around there. She's showing me the water. She's showing me the hills and the rolls of the rails, as I used to say, over in Ireland. But you weren't counting sheep, so it means you weren't sleeping at all. At all. Alright, let's look at a little bit slower on this deck to slow it down as the Pleiadian Oracle. Alright, Quantum Heart regenerating. There's something about regenerating, especially when a woman or family member, they give up their loved one. How they keep going and keep going and going and putting out. When I see this as sacred geometrics, it is a mathematical measure to where they say that's a sin. And I've talked about that in other videos where sin is a mathematical equation. When I see universal knowledge, they're like, we already know it's highly documented when someone does a crime. What does it add up to? So when you see creativity and then you see the song of your soul, you have to say, you couldn't even believe it, the mother and father healing as they sing in the song of their tune of a lullaby of vibrations to that child. Taking chances, they do. A lot of people out there take a leap of faith after placement, and they shouldn't, especially closed adoptions, and they try to reach out in their own way. So when they actually do, and you say, Lightning Boy, Universal Heart, and Sacred Union, sometimes they put two and two together, these kids, and they go no go to it. When you see passion and you see imagination, you have to say, were they caught up in a run? Because when I saw Hitler during that time with those orphans and power and rise up, that's where I'm saying, like, how long has like all these illegal substances been around? And then what I remember, what I learned, it's just a different name. That's all it is. So when you look at service, some people just sit well watching something play out because they already know. They already know. So when you say service and you say you set your vibration, so when you say star family, and you say sound codex, and you go, Halcyon, you have to go, wow, like it's pinpointed when they listen to the planetary guardian. Let's look at this card a little bit better. A watch over. I would say that's someone like on the outskirts. So we used to call them bullies out in Ireland. This would be like a constable. It could be, most of the time it's the vicar, but most of the time they don't even have a vicar over there. That is someone who can do a little bit of placement of their own as a priest or a friar or a monk to telepathy. Like they pick up on it hard um, as far as like how gifted they are. So during that time, they would have actually gone through bombings and illness because when you look at it, and we're going to look at a shared screen right over here. Let's go to this. Right here. Yep. So that was actually one of the things that, we picked up on was the septic tank beneath the home, run by none, and you couldn't even make it up. They started last year with everything. I'm just going to boil it down. On 1920s and 1961. So when you do this and you go, graves were unmarked, unconsecrated, all right, so there was no religious factor on the primary cause of death, except respiratory infections, which means mold and black would be on the bones, and gastroenteritis. Their pelvis would actually be like osteoporosis. When you see the excavation is expected over the last 2 years, I'd have to say, uh, where they actually like cursed. They would use a lot of curses, spells, and hexes during that time. A lot. All right, we're gonna stop sharing. Here we go. So that goes as far as that. So let's look at another deck. Let's look at the Animal Spirit Oracle. All right, so we have Bat that has come up with me and a couple other friends. Like we're Bat Bat crazy, and then right off the bat, Stark and Starling. There it is. Tiger and snake. There's something about a hunting of a known of a killing. So as I see the stingray, I see the chakras, and when I see the chakras, they all align. They are attuned down to the railings, all to the known, NOAN, to the colors in their eyes. Where if they do a smoke a toka loka hoke, they actually like alter their vision and they see it and they run with it. So then when I see oyster, I say, don't clam up. Don't clam up. Be careful on who you run with because it's going to bite you in the butt. And when you see the elk, you go right down to the Elks Club or anything like that, like we have here, and you go down doors. And this is where it gets creepy, right down to like a guest of honor of everything. You can't even see it. When you see firefly at night, like bioluminescence, algae comes right off the boat, like. And as I see it, I said, yeah, there's some like things, and then it says locked up cosmic egg. When I see these eggs in this deck, it means it's locked, it's blocked, it could be occulted, could have a curse, a spell, a hex if you go near it. Now this is more a little bit Native American when I see the bear in the woods. It's a dolphin when I see this high frequency, like playful unicorn. Unicorn. It's rare and known, which is curse, down to dragonfly. Like a promise kept. Promise kept. Owl. There's something of wisdom that was kept over these orphans, that they would watch over them always. So when I see octopus and I see carousel, to a type of reach out and play out, to the sea serpent, of something that's lingering, to the cobra, of a sting, like they rise up and they say, no, go to it, no, go to it, to the whale. There's something about whale that comes in. All right. All right. So when I look at this, the moon in reverse means like you're crazy. You're absolutely crazy that all these kids would just disappear. And they're all getting sick. I mean, it was just going through. So then when you see the high priestess in reverse, hidden motives. Absolutely hidden motives. So as the deck falls on the floor, right there, you go. The hangman in reverse, hard, slow, pause. And then you go, Knight of Pentacles, prudent path so paved, well, money. To the Two of Pentacles in reverse, there's like no money balances. It was like huge. To the Queen of Swords, the logic and the cutaway, and the wheel in reverse, no taxing to it. To the Emperor in reverse, toxic masculinity, they don't so well, they're heinous. To the King of Cups, they can't hear it. To the Lovers in reverse, divorce, even down to contracts, to businesses, to like tons of things that a divorce could be. To the Ten of Swords in reverse, you just can't even see it coming whatsoever. It's not a finality of relief. It causes unrest, civil unrest, down to the home. So that's enough out of that deck. That one is a little too loud. That deck. It wants to speak. Alright, Starseed Oracle. This was probably going to be 800 orphans. Probably feels like five pirates with tie-ins with other topics. Here we go. Empathic starseed, energetic sovereignty, absorbing what is not yours, to the void, to the stop, embrace the winter, cosmic womb. Like there was something about like empty, like they're like all gone. It would have been all open room. They're all gone. And I hear war. They're at war. They grew up. They left. They replaced. They moved on. So when you see this and you see a longing for home, homesick for the stars, none of this matters. Zoom out. Defenseless, writing past wrongs, uprooting. The portal, doors opening, you decide, rewards, wild card. Orion energy, polarity, soul growth, conflict. There was a wild card right at the end of Civil War, right before uh, like World War One, where it's like cat's eye cradle, and then you actually see a silver spoon. You do see the silver lining, which is like the Mercury, and you see this: "I will to thy will, micromanaging the universe." Life lessons, soul growth, higher learning. It's like they all went to college. They all like showed up and were at college. Light seeds, star seeds served the world by being you. I feel like some actually had moved on and they found themselves in a place where they couldn't even believe it. Here they are, they're orphans and they're at college. Here it is. Lastly, let's do a little bit more of a deck. We'll do the Lenormand, then we'll look through the crystal quartz. And that will be it for this portion of it because it is a little hard and heavy. Here we go. All right, number 17, the Queen of Hearts. It means a fourth and gone and go. When you see this and you see 28 with the ace of the heart right here, with the Queen of Hearts, you can't even make it up. These two together, those two cards means for it. They're for it. When you see this and you go 35, it goes the anchor, 9, 5, the tree. They almost like are planted and rooted and anchored, these children. Even in the afterlife, they're all together like a gang. Which then I look at it and I say, there it is. Is that the gang Tres, there's something like Tres and Los. It has something to do with like being like fostered and let out too early. Highly dishonorable. When I look at it and I go, there was quite the uprise with this. And I go, the night starry sky comes upon to thee. It is an old like sailor saying, when you have a crystal clear night and you can see the water and it comes to thee, you must be like known, but then there's like that energy around it. It's like it's not known. And then you go out and you see 9 with this, and you go, there's something about heritage that you couldn't do to this. So as I'm actually looking at closing this out on this deck, and it has to do with the Pope's funeral. When it went to that, and you actually see the white smoke, there was something of chemistry that was not like clear. So you have Pope Leo, and everything is going through, and you see the Irish orphans. And when you say they weren't consecrated, that means there was no religious factor upon their deaths. All right, lastly, what do we need to know about these 800 orphans? Phone, F-O-W, and fawn, F-A-W. Like something was eaten up by a monster. They would say, as a child would say it, to be done. A D-U-N. And you can't even believe it. At all. To the highest degree of known. So when you do it, and they actually do, it would have been a lot of lore, which is like ancient past, like cryptids or something like that. It would have been quite like leery out there with that orphanage. Like there's like a lot you could talk about, but I'm hearing and I'm feeling in the energy that like pace topic out, because I feel more big news will come in And it's really hard because we've been saying it for years. It's coming in, and big news is coming in, and you just can't see. So, with that being said, we're just going to end. Leave a like, a comment, a share is greatly appreciated, and we will talk to you soon.